capacity in the area for different employment types? For instance, commercial, creative industries, that kind of thing. Is anything being done in terms of the evidence base to look at what need there is for certain types of commercial premises within the area?
There is research to demonstrate that there's high demand for creative industry spaces that are in that part of Westminster, and also there's a number of creative industry facilities in North Kensington, in areas that just border this area. So yeah, we do believe there is demand from that particular sector. We don't have a great deal of intelligence about other sectors, I think, that might want to locate there. I think the point that was made about quality of the environment is an important one, and I think everyone recognises that the quality of the environment isn't up to scratch in many places in North Westminster, but that is changing. There are been big investments made in the environment in Harrow Road, Civic Street's programme delivered there, Newmarket launched. On Church Street there's a major investment going to be made in the public realm, and I think now and in a few years' time the quality of the environment will be a lot more attractive, and perhaps that will encourage more business to locate in the area.
Could you give the example of the studios and explain what's happening to everyone there? Because that is a very good example of an enormously successful project.
Yeah, there's a building, it's a former lost property building called Great Western Studios, which is on Paddington New Yard, and that's going to be demolished as part of the Crossrail enabling process. We've helped facilitate their relocation to a different site, and a developer is currently building a new Great Western Studios just next to where their old facility is. That's being pre-let at the moment, and it's looking very likely that that'll be 100% let when it opens in September of this year, providing about 60,000 square foot of studio space for about 140 creative industry businesses. So that's one very sort of real example of the demand for space in the area, and I think it's about getting the development right and pricing it at the right level. I think maybe there's an issue about if we're encouraging on large opportunity sites, we're encouraging like 50% housing and 50% commercial. Are the housing developers going to have the expertise to plan the right kind of commercial developments alongside that housing, and do we need to be doing more to showcase projects that have been done where that mix has been achieved well?
Is there any also evidence to show what kind of areas within the economic development area seem to be more successful in attracting businesses? So, for instance, are you saying that across the area we're going to continue to apply this 50% restriction, or have you started to look at areas within that the economic development area which would be maybe more suitable for certain types of businesses or clusters, for instance?
Yeah, I think the second half of the sentence were about the point about flexibility would inevitably mean that more work will be done to look at individual sites and think in a bit more detail about which locations in particular could accommodate more business and which sites just aren't appropriate for commercial development for whatever reason. I don't know whether Amanda or Graham can do reference any specific sites in this area that you think you might be able to encourage more commercial development.
I think the commercial development falls into a couple of different categories. Obviously, the amount of office floor space delivered at Paddington Special Policy Area has attracted a surprisingly wide range of office occupiers. There's international, national headquarters, a range of consultancy firms. And that's built on top of the hidden success in the area, that you've already got two of the major advertised agencies in the UK, major offices actually in the area, very quietly, just on the edge of that special policy area. And of course that feeds off one office market, and there are more permissions in the pipeline, and a couple more schemes still to come. And that's very much meeting the central London market, but it does link in with the creative industry side. The other part, or one other part of it, has been to try to talk to those other agencies. They tend to be public agencies like the railway or the post office, or indeed some areas over the years, to actually bring their estate into full use. Because a lot of it is just sort of lying there waiting for something else to happen. And that's partly because the pressure from Crossrail is beginning to have some impact on making them use property that they have, which is otherwise effectively kept out of economic use. So the only other area is the amount of commercial floor space that already exists in the area. Because of changes carried out in the 1987 use class order, a lot of smaller light industrial properties, as they were traditionally known, all became regraded as offices overnight. And that, as we said it would at the time, has fundamentally has fundamentally caused a problem for that market to survive in a way that meets local needs and aspirations for creative industries, for local services, and of course the whole delivery of shopping in the area and in London and the country has equally challenged a lot of local service suppliers from wanting to stay in there. The other problem we have is that, and Great Western Studios is a perfect example of this, is where there is real growth, it increasingly looks for non-traditional places because they're cheaper, they're easier, they're less constrained by 25-year leases and other commercial constraints, which frankly the City Council has very little power over. So we're actually trying to do various things which are more site-related. And that's probably as far as we can actually take responsibility for it. As the City Council, and John can speak to this as well, doesn't own a lot of property in those categories itself to put into the market. So we don't have a huge high street properties, for example, that are just sitting there waiting for something to happen with them. Most of the properties we own in Church Street are mostly in some form of use.